What's going on, everybody? Well, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Viall Files Ask Nick edition. I am your host, Nick, joined by the household. We got sweet boy Justin, Leia, and Allie overseas in the Midwest.
What?
She's on Mars.
There are no seas in between us.
The Great Lakes.
There you
Actually,
go.
there's not even a lake in between us. Not even a river, actually.
There's a river in Minnesota, right?
Well, it's the Mississippi River, but that's on the other side. That's the east side.
Technically, aren't I on the other side of the river from you?
No. The Mississippi River is on the east side of Minnesota, I believe.
Maybe the American
no, it goes
River.
through the Twin Cities.
But it's on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin.
I think I'm on the other side of the river from LA.
Okay. All right. So there's maybe potentially a river. Anyway, welcome to the show where we listen to people call in, share their relationship stories, and we give some answers. We got a great lineup for you. Tara Schuster is here to recap with us. She's been on the show before, friend of show. Sierra Robinson returns as well. I probably should let people know why Sierra keeps coming back.
Yeah, let the people know.
How we know? Sierra's just a good friend of ours. We met her through Sarah and Wells, and every time we hang out, we just talk with Sarah about reality TV. And then she's been coming in and helping to fill in for our pop culture correspondent, Natalie Joy. We have so much fun talking with Sierra, so it's been fun to have her. But what's really exciting for Reality Recap tomorrow, Jess from Love is Blind will be with us in studio to help recap Love is Blind, the next batch of episodes. Obviously, she had an iconic moment in the pods with Jimmy. So we'll talk with Jess about all that and more. Plus, we'll be breaking down Bachelor, Love is Blind, Vanderpump. We'll do some Housewives. And if there's any other, things we need to discuss, we will discuss it. I assure you that. All right, what are we getting into before we get to our excellent callers?
I mean, speaking of crazy relationship stories, have you seen this viral, not TikTok trend, but TikTok series of a woman who essentially talks about this man who's lied to her?
Oh.
Leia brought this to my attention. It's pretty juicy.
But that's been done before. What's so captivating about this particular story?
This is a 50-part series on TikTok.
When you say 50-part series, like she's posted 50 different...
10 minutes each.
Oh my God.
50 videos.
How many
maybe even
hours
52.
It's 8 hours.
Minimum, because some of them were longer. And she's posted some summaries and some lives.
What's this person's name? Is there a TikTok account?
Yeah, this is Risa Tisa on TikTok.
And so she just dated someone who she realized lied about who they are?
She didn't just date him. She married him.
Oh.
She unfortunately had a miscarriage, but was pregnant with his child. This is a wild, wild story. They met online on a dating app in March of 2020.
Okay.
And then shortly after that, as we all know,
Deep in the pandemic. That was prime pandemic.
This was in Georgia, so the pandemic hits. He had said that he was moving from San Diego. A lie, we find out later. And he moves in with her so that they can quarantine together. So they move in, they start dating. She gets pregnant. They start looking for houses to move into. And things seem to be going well. He talks to his brother every day. Never on speaker, though. That's an important point. Never on speaker. Talks to his brother every day. Says, yeah, Risa says hi. We've since now found out his true identity, but she refers to him as Legion. So they dated March till January, get married in January.
Who showed up to the wedding?
That is a very good question.
But honestly, genius for someone who's kind of catfishing his own life to date and get married during peak pandemic times when they could blame COVID for not being around other people.
But is that what happened? Did she ever meet anyone from his family?
He always had an excuse, always had a reason, never had his brother on speakerphone, yet talked to him every single day.
What is making this story so captivating?
Oh, people are going in on this story.
I think part of it's the hype, but the other part of it is her storytelling. Because it's 50
she's
parts. She'll
captivating.
change backgrounds. She'll be in her car. And she just has the details. She lays it out as it is. She doesn't hold back. So I think that's why people are watching it. And the fact that each video gets about 5 million views, you kind of want to watch it.
Here are the lies.
Okay.
So she discovers all these lies. First of all, every time they tried to buy a house or a car, he apparently had all this money offshore in an account somewhere. Every time they try to buy something, there's a reason for it to fall through. They find a house that they love, they agree on it, it falls through. And she's getting suspicious. Why does this keep falling through? He shows her bank statements. We later find out that they were screenshots and that he made them. They were all fake.
He was using Canva for his fake life.
Was he really?
No, we don't.
Maybe.
Well, that's definitely a red flag. Were there other red flags that she talks about?
This is the biggest one.
Okay.
So she had to apply for a job and she had to put both her and his social security numbers on this job application.
Oh.
And she realized that it was a different social security number and that it was a fake social security number.
How did she realize?
I think because she had a different one on their marriage license. When they got married, he used a different social security number. Here were all the lies that she found out from there. This is when she realized that he was using a false social security number. When she got his real social security number, she discovered that he had been arrested in the past for trespassing and impersonating an officer. She also discovered that he had been lying about his job. So he told her that he was a VP at a condiment company. And he went to work every single day. He even called her from work and pretended to reprimand his employees while she was on the phone.
But he never worked there.
No, never worked there. He was a temp at, I believe, a warehouse.
He was a temp?
He was a temp at a warehouse.
It's insane.
He lied about all of his siblings, by the way.
At this point, was finding out his social security number was fake, was that what made her realize?
That was like her main like change of mindset. Because
prior to that, were there like red flags that she was ignoring?
So she tells the stories about like payments not falling through and him making promises that aren't true. And then the social security thing was the thing where it made her want to investigate it.
I'm curious about the red flags leading up to, like, if you find out your partner is lying about the social security number, that's a major red flag.
Another red flag was that she had never spoken to his family until after she started investigating it. So every time in the morning he'd be like, I'm on the phone with so-and-so, but she would never
his
directly...
friends too, by the way.
So she never met a single friend or family?
No,
and she's never spoke to anybody.
Never directly spoke to them until after she investigated, she reached out to the family members and found out that he was estranged.
From every single one of them.
So all of those phone calls were just him talking to the abyss or like...
a friend, making it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing a scene.
Yeah, but we do find out when she reaches out and finds out that not only did he lie about how many siblings he had and the fact that he was talking to one of them every single day, but we found out he has a twin brother who essentially has the life that he's claiming to have. So the luxury cars, the money, the VP. Yeah. He was a VP. I don't know if at a condiment company, but he was a VP. And yeah, she realized that all of these screenshots of the bank statements that he had been showing her were all false. Then she got concerned, reached out to his ex-wife. This is a big one. This one's really awful. He had told her that he had a daughter from a previous marriage who had passed. She calls this ex-wife alive and well.
The daughter is.
The daughter.
The daughter
so he did have
is
a daughter.
alive and well?
He did actually have a daughter.
Yes.
Oh, that's even worse.
Mm-hmm. Who lies about their daughter dying? What the fuck?
Yeah, like if he had made up a person and that made up person died, still creepy and weird, but to falsify the death of your actual daughter.
Yeah.
That's
scary.
Horrible. That might be the worst thing that he did, honestly. Anyway, she kicks him out of the house and files for divorce in June of 2021. Their divorce was finalized in December.
Probably going to get an annulment for this one. You know?
Well, yeah, because it's like I literally married someone with, it's like not even a catfish, but he catfished everything about himself.
Yeah. How can you get married to someone you don't actually know? Their name, their social security card, their number.
She does take accountability for the fact of, hindsight is 2020. You look back and you see all of these things. Maybe she was sweeping some under the rug. I mean, personally, I would find it weird if I had never spoken to anybody.
A bunch of unverified promises.
Yeah. What I think a fascinating thing about the videos is I think it's a form of therapy for her because she's like reliving it as she's telling it. And like she's realizing, well, that was a red flag. That was a red flag. And then people are also calling it out for her. So like even us telling the story, like you have to watch all 50 parts to understand like the little bits and pieces.
Who has the time?
So many people.
But part of it too is she probably felt so alone. She meets this guy during a pandemic. She never speaks to any of his family or friends. It sounds like they got married with each other and no one else. So now she's found a whole kind of like community and family with people on TikTok.
Yeah.
And she probably feels so vindicated.
This reminds me of like being a kid. I feel like everyone's grown up with someone who went to like grade school or middle school or even high school or maybe every phase of school. And there was always the people that you went to school with that would lie about like their parents having a lake house in some state that they always were going to invite you to, but they never could because there was always a reason. Or I remember this kid, his name was Kevin. I forgot his last name. But he told me how he had all the rookie cards. He had like the Jordan rookie card, the Bo Jackson rookie card. And I was like, oh man, he's like, yeah, you got to see it. But there was always like unavailable, like in some sort of storage warehouse. And there was this kid named Mike I went to high school with. He would always lie. always lie about how much money they had or things like that. But I feel like everyone has gone to school with a person like that. No?
I haven't gone to school with anybody that had a crazy lie. Like not craziest, but like the only lie that I could like think of is my best friend. She once told me that she went to like Texas for a weekend and then became friends with Paige from Dance Moms.
Oh.
That was like the randomest lie. So like that to me was like, yep, that did nothing. But
I remember in the first grade, me and this kid named Shane. In the first grade, I remember this. One day, first grade, we're just like, we're twins.
You guys decided to lie together?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Our teacher, like, obviously we're lying.
yeah.
Yeah, we're like twins lost at birth. We're siblings, and
Oh
like
my God.
it was the weirdest shit.
How long did you keep that going?
Half a day
Oh,
or
okay.
afternoon or something.
Wait,
It's like parent-teacher conference.
Speaking of parent-teacher conference, you made me think of one. So in 6th grade, my older sister told her teacher that she went by Becca. So the whole year she would call her like Becca, like raise your hand, Becca, if you're here. My mom and dad sit down at the parent-teacher conference with my sister. And the whole time the teacher is like, oh, Becca's a good student. Like Becca does this. Like we love Becca. And my mom at one point goes, who is Becca? Like after the whole thing. And then she found out this whole year that she made a lie. Fast forward, my little sister, who's 8 years younger than my older sister, has the same teacher. And like on the first day, the teacher was like, tell me if you have a nickname, like, and I'll call you by your name, but don't give me a fake name. I've had a student do that before. My little sister goes up to her and is like, I think that's my sister. Yeah. So there's another lie.
Well, that's not as bad because like maybe she just wanted to be called Becca.
Just to be the parent though, to sit down in a teacher conference and be like, who's Becca?
What did your parents say to your sister?
I don't think it was that big of a deal, but I think they were just like, okay.
Like, do you hate your name, or should we start calling you Becca? Or
Yeah.
My sister told her teacher that she couldn't read.
What was she trying to get out of?
No, she was like in kindergarten or something. It was like kindergarten or first grade. And my parents went in for a conference and the teacher was like, Marissa's doing well, but like one thing I would recommend, like maybe just start reading to her like a little bit every night. And my parents are like, she reads chapter books. Like, what are you talking about? And the teacher's like, okay, like keep telling yourself that. And then they went home and they were like, Marissa, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I didn't want the other kids to feel bad that they couldn't read as good as I could. So I just told her I didn't know how.
Oh
Well,
my
that's sweet.
God.
yeah, that's almost like an empathetic lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, kids are creative with their lies.
Yeah, I lied about not being able to see so I could get glasses.
Oh, well,
Really?
Yeah, and I
karma.
went, I know, now I
She's
can't
wearing them
see
now?
anything. No, I lied even on the vision test with the doctor. Yeah, I like went to the doctor.
How old were you?
A little too old to have been doing this. I was in like 8th grade. And
Oh my God, Leia.
You're
I
like
know.
23.
yeah, I literally got glasses like 2 years later.
in your defense, glasses were like trendy.
They were. All the cool kids were wearing glasses and I could see perfectly. I went and got a vision test. I lied literally every single letter. And the
That's
doctor
probably
knew.
why you got. They knew you.
The
were lying?
doctor knew. My mom told me this years later. The doctor knew and told my mom she's lying. Get the ugliest pair of non-prescription glasses and make her wear them.
And you didn't wear them.
And oh my God, they were hideous. I wore them for one day and then I was just like, F this.
Fuck this.
That's funny because you thought that you were convincing the doctor, but he was like, nope.
That's.
I know.
Doesn't add
I
up.
thought so for years until my mom told me like a long time later, maybe once I had glasses.
So is this catfish story still ongoing?
She's posting her own recaps now. So I think she's realizing that people don't have time or don't want to go through
She's
the whole thing.
recapping her.
Own story. Yeah.
I personally spent probably a couple of hours just watching summaries of this story.
I don't mean to downplay it, but like, unfortunately, I feel like this isn't the first time this has happened, and I think it's only happened more and more. Where, like, it's the age of the internet, the age of catfishing, AI. We're getting lonelier and lonelier as a society, you know. And then, you know, when you're lonely, it's easier to like ignore the red flags because you feel this sense of companionship.
Mm-hmm.
Say what you want about catfish relationships, is that as fucked up and as toxic as they are, they're still a relationship. You know, that's why a lot of people who are being catfished will have a hard time leaving that relationship, even though deep down they know they're being catfished because they've built a connection with this person. You know, they wake up, look forward to talking to this person. There's a sense of companionship. Yeah. So I just feel like this is only going to be There's only gonna be more and more of this shit.
I think it's interesting for viewers on TikTok because they're younger, and catfishing usually happens with like older individuals. Because like the younger crowd right now, we're trained to understand like this is clearly false on the internet. And I think when she met him, his Hinge name and his Facebook like dating profile name were different. So like for like me, that's automatically like that's a red flag.
Social media in general, like why aren't you required to be verified? I don't understand. I do, along
I
with
will say that is a
dating apps.
feature on Hinge now where you can get
Yeah.
a little check mark. It's not required,
Yeah, you
but
have
it
to pay
is like a
for it.
confidence booster if you match with someone who has one.
But it's also not like verifying your like correct name, right? It's just your face. So you just do like an AI like head turn.
Maybe. I assumed you had to take like a photo.
Maybe.
It's nice,
Of
but
your
it's
ID.
not stopping the problem because someone would be like, "Oh, I can't afford." I'm assuming it's a premium service. I'm assuming it's something you have to pay for. Wild stuff.
How do you move on from that? How do you trust somebody again?
I don't think it's that hard. I mean, like, I haven't watched the videos, but I hope this is therapeutic for her. I hope she is going back, and as she goes through the details, she's pointing out these red flags. I mean, I feel like a lot of people call into the show. A lot of people are captivated by our caller stories. I know for some of our listeners, they're rolling their eyes, at our audience members. But when the people who call in, it's like when you are in it, when you are caught up in the emotion of it all or the fantasy of whatever you're in, it is hard to see the forest for the trees. I always say, like, no one lies to us more than we lie to ourselves. And we get a lot of feedback from the people who call in that, once they listen to the call back, it's a lot clearer. Remember our dear friend? She was very, open about like listening to the original call back. She felt even more embarrassment from her original story because like her listening to her telling the story almost put her in the same seat as all the other audience members who listened to her story. And then you're able to see, oh, fuck, that sounds fucking crazy. But that's the thing. It's just, it'd be one thing if you went through it and it's just like this person hired actors and his entire family showed up. You know what I'm saying? But like there were clearly a lot of things she chose to believe, look the other way, ignore. I'm guessing, right? I'm guessing there were just several pieces of information. That's why with catfishing too. It's just like you play along sometimes. And my guess is she suspected long before she actually verified. I definitely think you can come back from it. You just have to be willing to actually, go back and reassess what you chose to ignore. You're not always going to uncover every liar, but I think you can get a lot better at it and protecting yourself from something like that happening, because for that to happen, you have to be complicit to a certain degree. You have to be willing to ignore certain obvious things for the sake of the fantasy that you are enjoying. And, pandemic, everyone's lonely. This guy maybe checked a few boxes here or there. The money, this promises house, You hear the word offshore.
Run the other way.
Right? Like best case, there's actually an account, but they're a criminal. Best case. That's best case.
I don't know of a single like actual normal person, regardless of how much money that they have, they're like, oh, let me pull this from an offshore account.
Yeah. Immediate red flag.
True. Yeah.
Offshore. She's like, oh, can I see a bank statement? Man, sorry, it's offshore.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also interesting that we usually think catfishing is like visual, right? Like we think that catfishing is you thought they looked like this person, but they ended up being this person. But in her case, it was he had just had a fake life.
Yeah,
he was the person she saw physically.
But, there are people who have, second families.
Yeah.
We've had callers like that before, too. It's like I've figured out he not only has a wife, but he has children.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to downplay this person's story. I think what's even crazier to me hearing the story is the thoroughness of her 8 hours.
And she went live for a really long time. She
did a press
posted
tour.
summaries.
Yeah.
She did a press tour.
Well, no. Okay. Figuratively.
Her own press tour.
Figuratively.
She went on her own press tour on TikTok.
I would say let's get her on, but it sounds like she's covered every detail.
On the topic of red flags, last week we talked about beige flags and a couple of the other viral dating things.
I thought of beige flags while watching Love is Blind, and I'm trying to think, what was the beige flag? Oh, fuck, I'm having a brain. Because I remember watching him like, now that's a beige flag.
Well, you tried saying that Chelsea pouring the alcohol was a beige flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah. Because like, is that a deep pour because she's stressed out in a pod, or is this like a nightly nightcap for her?
True.
Like we don't know if it's a red flag. Could be.
It's whatever Jimmy would be thinking. It would be his perspective.
I feel like a beige flag is a potential red flag without a lot of context, a lot of information. There's more questions to be asked.
Yeah.
There are more questions to be asked, but it's also, do I even care?
Like
That's how I feel about it.
Sometimes it's like you love them enough to not care about it. So,
okay.
Yeah. But speaking of other definitions, Leia had another one.
One of them is orbiting, which is sticking around. It's sticking around after a romantic relationship has ended. And according to our sweet, sweet Justin, it's keeping a roster.
Or trying to stay relevant. So like orbiting is a form of keeping a roster.
When you were describing orbiting, you know, I know a lot of people, in fact, everyone's done this, especially if you're in like a long-term relationship. Like breaking up is hard. And oftentimes in long-term relationships, you break up, but you have a lot of mutual friends. So you run in the same circles, you have some sex. And even though you broke up, you don't really break up maybe like 4 or 5, 6 months later till you're actually like, no, we need to cut off communications. We need to stop hanging out. We need to stop having random hookups and shit like that. That's not orbiting, or that is orbiting?
That's a version of orbiting.
It's a version of orbiting.
Yeah. So orbiting it could either be you trying to stay in someone's orbit or someone trying to keep you in their orbit.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think another way to think about it, and it's along the similar lines of what you're saying, is you might have an ex from the past that always will randomly like a photo. Like they won't contact you for years, but then they'll like one of your stories. And that's them trying to re-enter your orbit.
Gotcha.
So they're kind of saying like, hey, I still exist. Like, here I am.
Sure.
It's whether
I feel
you
like
decide.
I've done that before. I've had that done to me. Is orbiting like a super bad thing, or what?
I think it's pretty toxic, because how are you moving on? How, in my opinion, it's almost like leading somebody on. How are you moving on to another relationship if you still have, if you are still orbiting, or you still have
so
people?
many variables here. Like the people
Well,
I thought
that's what was going to be my question to our Gen Z or sweet boy Justin, because I'm like, I feel like I've had this happen in multiple different contexts.
Are you not Gen
recently
Z?
Where like
Allie and I are kind of
don't
on
know.
the cusp, I would say.
Are we on the bookends of the millennials?
I was born
I'm a
in
very old
1995.
millennial. Like I'm the oldest.
So you're an old millennial. I think we're young millennials.
Everybody has a different definition, but the one that I just found is 1997 to 2012.
So then I'm a millennial.
Are millennials?
oh, so I'm
No,
in
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Oh, Gen Z.
So
Gen
I'm
Z.
the eldest Gen Z.
You're the
You're
oldest
an old,
of the
you're
young.
an old Gen Z. You're
People
an elder.
change- yeah, people
You're an
change
elder
this-
Gen Z.
That's okay. Nick's the oldest of the old.
I'm an elder millennial. No.
Okay.
I barely
So
make a millennial.
as the elder Gen Z, can I ask the younger Gen Z a question?
Go for
Because
it.
I feel like, one, I've had like a guy flame an Instagram story recently. Two, this was wild, had this girl reach out to me. We literally FaceTimed once back in 2021. And she was like has continued to text me like every 6 months. But then being back in Minnesota, there are like 2 guys who are like actively trying to like see me and make plans and like texting me. Are those all orbiting?
I mean, you're a hot commodity is what that's saying. But I mean, it's people trying to re-enter or stay in your orbit. So like there's like 2 ways of it. You can either control your own orbit or people try to do it themselves.
So why do we need the word orbiting? I'm confused. Can't we just call it roster building?
Yeah, it's just another form of building your
But
roster.
they're not on my roster. I've never had a roster. I don't want a roster. I've never dated more than one person at a time.
So they're trying to be in your roster. Therefore, they're like
Dude,
orbiting.
I've
I
only
don't
thought
have
about, like,
one.
in my single era, you know, I was single for several years, and like, you know, you would meet a lady here or there, and you know, you'd go on a couple dates, or maybe you met them out of town. There was like some chemistry. Maybe there was a hookup. Maybe there even wasn't a hookup. Or maybe you were seeing someone, or they, you know, it's like the timing never lined up. Or maybe you found them to be really attractive, but kind of a pain in the ass. And then like, you're like, I don't want to really fuck with this person anymore. But then time goes on. You forget how much they're a pain in the ass. They post a thirst trap on social media. You know, you reach out to them, or vice versa. You know, like, is that orbiting? Or is that just 2 people being single and in their fuckboy era and like, you know, scratching an itch when they're bored?
I think scratching the itch like causes you to enter the orbit.
Okay.
Because you can like, I don't know the science.
Here's
but
a question for you as an elder millennial. Like, why is Gen Z obsessed with new terminology?
Because they like to feel special.
I call this is cosmopolitan.
I mean, what would you call it?
I don't know.
Like, I feel like it's just a term for something that exists that nobody really like.
Well, the problem with all these new
labeled.
terms is then like first, like, gaslighting. You've heard me go on and on and on and on and on about like my complaint about gaslighting. And then society always waters down the meaning of these words. Ghosting, ghosting used to be like being in a relationship with someone, like our caller last week. And then waking up one day and that person disappears on you. And now ghosting, people are using that word to describe someone they've matched on a dating app, they've sent 2 messages to, and that person decided not to write back. So it's like, even those words loses their own meaning. It's hard to keep up with the meaning of these made up words. It's very confusing and seems unnecessary.
My father-in-law the other day said, "You guys are just making up a language at this point because
Truly.
you'll speak and just."
It's a made up language. It's evolving every day, and the words always lose their meaning.
You just got to keep up. You just got to keep going.
Gotta keep up.
The other
Gotta
day,
keep
my
up.
dad was like, "Oh, it's giving," and I was like, "Pop off, King."
I'll say.
Well, no, to me that's different. Like using slang and like fun like words. I have fun with it. Like obviously, Natalie has introduced a lot of terminology and language that like I find myself using for fun. But that's different than me being like, I just feel like I'm being orbited right now, and I don't know how to explain it. And like use your words to articulate your emotions. I feel like people like don't know how to articulate or communicate their emotions. Like, so they come up with these words. I don't know. Orbiting, not my favorite. I like beige flags better. Yeah. Hey, all you cookers out there, are you cooking with Caraway? Well, if you're not, what the F? Seriously, if you've been listening to the show, you know that Natalie and I are loving, love. We love our Caraway. I've been cooking with Caraway for 3.5 years now. We have 2 different Caraway cooking sets. We cook with it almost every night. They also do great things in the baking department. Everything about Caraway is amazing. What's so good about it is that you feel good, especially, you want to make sure you're cooking with safe stuff. It is scary out there, the type of chemicals that are in a lot of the cookware that is out there of it for people. It's scary stuff, but not Caraway. Caraway products are made without any toxic materials like the PFAs, PTFEs, PFOAs, or other hard to pronounce chemicals. Anyways, it's hard to pronounce, and if it's hard to pronounce, you don't want to cook with it. Ceramic naturally slick surface means it's minimal oil or butter for the slide off. You just slide off. Everything just slides off. It's easy to clean. It's aesthetically pleasing. Whether you want to hang it outside in your kitchen or, hide in your cabinet, doesn't matter. But, it's, again, very aesthetically pleasing. It's great to cook with. You can cook anything with it. Truly anything. I cook a lot. I cook with Caraway every day. What more can I say? Over 65,000 people have rated Caraway 5 stars. It's now time for you to try it yourself. I mean, seriously, it's an incredible piece of cookingware. And again, whether it's cooking or baking, Caraway does great things in the kitchen. So if you are in the market for some new cookware, you got to check out Caraway because it's safe, it's easy to cook with, and it looks great. We love it. Visit carawayhome.com/VIALL to take advantage of this limited time offer for 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners. So visit carawayhome.com/VIALL or use code VIALL at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic cookware made modern. Peloton. Do you have a Peloton bike? Well, if you don't, you should. All you busy people out there, it's hard to find the time to work out. And time is limited. We don't have a lot of time in the day. So why waste time packing a gym bag, going to a gym, signing up for a gym membership that truly, if you stop going, they'll never let you cancel. You all heard the horror stories about trying to cancel a gym membership. So save yourself the trouble and just get yourself a Peloton bike because you can work out from the convenience of your home. You can put it in the garage. You can work out with friends. It's a great way of staying in touch with family and friends that don't live in the same neighborhood because you can compete with them. You can challenge each other. And what's so much fun is you have these wonderful instructors that Peloton has at their disposal. You can work out to your favorite playlists and music in different classes, challenge each other. It's so convenient and so easy.
Something that I didn't even know Peloton did is they actually have Peloton like bikes, which you can get on their own, or you can do the Bike Plus rental. So if you want to just pay for your bike on a monthly basis, they'll include a monthly price to rent a bike, cycling shoes, and your membership. So you can just bundle it all together, pay one convenient monthly price, and give it a whirl, literally, because it's a bike.
Peloton helps you start no matter what level you are at. Wherever you're starting, there's thousands of classes to get you moving, whether it's beginner or advanced rides, feel good, live DJ rides, or artist theme rides. They've got something for you. Peloton bike instructors keep you motivated from day one. They'll show you the basics, help you take the guesswork out of your workout, and encourage you to build from there. Wherever you're starting from, get moving with a Peloton bike or bike plus rental at www.onepeloton.com/bike/rentals. Terms apply. Again, that's onepeloton.com/bike/rentals. Terms apply. Anyways, got some great callers for you. Some juicy stories. Some pretty great advice, I think. Like I said, we have a great week lined up for you. We got Jess from Love is Blind to give us all the tea on the pods, her interactions with Jimmy and the rest of the cast. A little kind of mid-season update from Jess herself. We'll also get into The Bachelor, Vanderpump, some housewives stuff. I learned an interesting fact recently about some housewives. I learned that Dorit, what's her husband's name?
PK.
PK. He's a music producer.
I think that's one of his identities.
Oh, I think that's what he's most known for. But his only client is Boy George. I heard through the grapevine, unverified, alleged, that the only person he reps in the music industry is Boy George. And I'm just like, how does this motherfucker? How do they have so much money? You know, where does this money come from?
This says, according to PK's official LinkedIn page, he is an entrepreneur and talent manager for Boy George, Dorit, and the late soccer player Pele.
Pele?
Sure.
So that's a huge name. That's arguably considered the greatest soccer player of all time. But anyways, Boy George had a moment for sure, like 30 years ago.
Interesting roster.
But where do you get all this money?
I mean, Boy George also used to be a friend of the show on Beverly Hills.
Well,
and then scandals
He's also a
happened,
director of a real estate agency, but that was only since 2022.
PK?
It also says that he's an entrepreneur, which could really mean anything.
Does he have an offshore account?
Probably.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
That or an OnlyFans page. We'll never know.
I mean, he also has a record of like gambling and stuff. So I think he just has a lot of pools of like income.
That sounds suspect.
Yeah.
He's always like in London doing business.
Yeah.
Managing Boy George. Doesn't seem like a full-time job. I don't know. Anyways, I found that fact to be interesting. We'll get into it more on Reality Recap. And then this Thursday, we have reality TV royalty Candy Burris with us, giving her what we like to call as her Bravo exit interview. She is iconic. She is a queen. And we had a great time talking with Candy. And so be sure to tune into that. So much more great stuff coming your way. I hope you guys enjoyed Natalie and I's birth story that we dropped last Thursday. If you missed that, be sure to check that out. We cried. We laughed. We told intimate details about giving birth to our daughter, River. I hope you guys listen. It was meaningful and heartfelt. And again, go fucking listen. If you haven't yet, don't offend us. All right, well, it's time to get to our callers.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Oh, not too bad. My name is Peyton, and I am almost 29. It is my birthday this weekend.
Happy birthday,
So,
Peyton.
yeah, thank you. And I need help because I found out my boyfriend is on Bumble.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Without your permission, I'm assuming.
Of course, yes, without my permission, for sure.
Have we addressed it with your boyfriend yet?
I have talked to him, yes.
And?
So, this was about a week ago, actually, that I got a random message on Instagram from who I'm only assuming is a girl. I'm not sure. They wouldn't tell me who they were. It was a private message from an account with 0 posts, 0 followers, everything like that. Saying that they found out that they knew I was dating him and wanted to tell me that they saw him on Bumble. And I at first was like, this is a joke, like it's a fake account, like I'm not taking this seriously. I told him about it, showed him like screenshots, and he was like, oh yeah, like that's weird, like I don't know who would do that. And like they knew him by name, like said his name and everything. So I was like, okay, well, seems a little odd. And then it was eating at me, so I followed up and I was like, hey, like just wondering, like who is this? And they were like, oh, all I'm gonna say is that I saw him on Bumble and I have proof. And I was like, okay, well, can you send the proof? And they sent me the screenshots of his profile and basically told me like, yeah, like I saw him like the day before yesterday. So this was like a little over a week ago that they saw his profile on there. And I was like, okay, well, that seems weird. So I had to like then text him and be like, wait, they said like they showed me your profile. And we actually met on Bumble. So I was like, your profile does not match what it looked like when we met. So what's different here? When were you on this?
How long you been together?
We've been together. So we matched just about 2 years ago. Officially together about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half.
It's been a while. It wasn't like a month ago. Yeah.
No. It's been a while for sure. And yeah, so then
and updated photos.
Same photos,
Same
updated
photos.
bio, updated like prompts and stuff that.
What was his bio?
His bio just had stuff about like how he like loves coffee, like mental health matters, like stuff like that. Just very like simple. But like on Bumble, you can put what you're looking for, and it said relationship, and I was just like, okay, well, you're in a relationship, so that's super weird. So at first, I was like, I was just like, shocked.
Were you this calm?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I was not this calm. I was very angry. But my initial
like when you're talking to him,
are
you yelling at him? Are you like, what's your tone?
So I should put in that we are long distance. He's in the military. He lives about 4.5 hours away from me.
That's fucking military, guys.
I know. I actually listened to your episode the other day that you were just talking about like the stripper or something and the military guy, and I was like, oh no. But so I followed up with him over text, and I just said like, hey, like, she says she has proof. Here's the proof. What the heck is going on? Like, what is this? And he basically was like, oh, that's so weird. Like, and it did say like the location was my hometown, and he's not from my hometown. So I was like, why does it say this place? And he was like, oh, it must have been from like after we met last year, or like,
wait, so his search is where you live, not where he lives?
Yeah. Yeah. So then I'm doing like the girl deep dive on Google, trying to figure out like how this could be, if he's telling the truth, blah, blah, blah. And I find out that like you can't change the location unless you pay for premium. And he absolutely did not pay for premium. It was very cheap. So that was like not a thing. And then I also found out that you have to be active within 30 days for your profile to still show up. So he could still have technically had the profile set up and been like deleted the app kind of thing. And then so he kind of like doubled down, said like, oh, like, yeah, last year or like whenever we first met in person, I was still on it. And I was like, okay, but that was a year and a half ago. So why is it showing up now? And then he finally owned up and said, I actually was on it in December. We quote unquote broke up in December for a week. Basically I was a little bit wishy-washy, so I will give him that. I was just like,
break up?
Pardon?
Did you break up?
I was the breaker upper, yes.
So you broke up with him in December.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But to me, I was like, not actually like, I'm like, we're broken up. I was kind of like, I'm done. I don't know where to go from here.
What was the issue?
We were just having a really bad rough patch. Like we got in a really bad fight in September where I was just feeling like he wasn't making me a priority. I wasn't feeling like the effort was being made. I was feeling like I was kind of leading us through our relationship. And then October, we got in another fight while we were away, actually. And it was our first trip together. And we got in a big fight because I airdropped him some photos from our trip that day and realized as like, you know, when you airdrop photos, it like goes directly to your camera roll. It opens. I saw there was like a bikini picture and it was not me. And I was like, what the hell is that?
This is October.
Basically it was in October. Yeah. And basically it was like an Instagram model. He was like, oh, I'm not talking to anyone. It's nothing like that. I just wanted to like look at it. And I was like, you had to save it? Like,
yeah, he's
like you can, I have no problem with you looking at whatever you want on the internet. Go right ahead. But like, you had to save it. That's weird. And then we ended up getting over that. We got in another fight at the end of November.
Did you know who this person was, and were you able to look at their account?
No. It was like some like one of those just like random Instagram girls, like influencer, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you went back and looked at their account and wonder if he had follows or DM'd her or.
I don't know who it was.
Okay.
I don't know who it was. All I saw was the glimpse of the photo, and then made him delete it.
Okay.
And then in November we got in another big fight, and I was just feeling like so done. I was just like, we keep fighting. We're in this rough patch. Maybe it's a rough patch. Maybe we get through this. I don't know. But I just was feeling like the priority thing kept coming up, the effort thing kept coming up, and then like the trust was a little bit broken with that photo, but I decided, okay, like I can probably get over this. Now, where we stand, like, so when we got in that fight at the end of November, early December, I was like, that's when I said I was done. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And he took it as like a full breakup, even though we were still talking every day. And then
I mean,
we were still talking and I was fighting and I was angry and we were like, we were texting too, which just wasn't helpful. So then I was like, we need to get on the phone. We got on the phone. We had a 2.5-hour phone call. We worked it all out, seemed good. And then he came home for the holidays and stuff. We had a great time over the holidays. I was feeling really reconnected with him. I was like, okay, maybe we're finally out of this rough patch. And then I got this message last week. And so he kind of lied about it.
So has he come clean at all?
He has, yeah. He's owned it.
What's the truth now?
This is my biggest problem is that
But what is the truth? What is his
Pardon?
truth? What is his truth regarding him being on Bumble?
His truth is that he says, we were broken up. I was drunk. I was with the boys. They were telling me to move on. It doesn't sound healthy. So I just got on and I was feeling lonely. So blah, blah, blah. Like that sort of a thing. And I was like, so were you going to meet up?
Well, I mean, forget about that. But do you have any other proof that he did anything more than sign up for Bumble?
I have no other proof that he did anything more.
Okay.
This girl that messaged me, she said,
or just be on the app. Like, I guess, if he was on Bumble, he swiped, maybe he connected with a few people. Maybe there are a few conversations. The fact that you did break up in December does fit his timeline.
It does. Absolutely.
Do you believe him?
And I do believe him. The thing that I'm kind of stuck on is just like why it was in my hometown.
Maybe because were you together
when we broke up? No, he was in his like where he lives on base.
Oh,
so the next time he was in my hometown was Christmas holidays, and the first thing he said was, "Oh, I set my location because I knew I'd be coming home," which was a lie. He lied to me 3 times in the span of me trying to like ask him about this. And I asked him all the questions. I said, did you want to meet up with people? How many people did you talk to? How many people did you match with? Like,
what did he say?
Everything.
What did he say?
He owned
why didn't you
everything.
Just look? So did you look? Does he still have the app? Did you look?
So I haven't seen him in person since then. I haven't been able to see him. He's on a course right now, so I can't even see him. He is coming home for my birthday this weekend, which, is not great timing, but it is what it is. And so I haven't been able to see. I didn't want to like bring up too much because then I wanted to ask him in person, let me see the app. And like I should say too, like I'm not this girlfriend ever. Like I never have had to feel like I've never been cheated on or anything like that. So I don't have trust issues. So I don't feel the need to like be that person that's like, hey, let me see your phone. Like I don't ever want to do that. But now I feel like he's put me in that position.
Yeah, he's clearly not. He's at best breadcrumbing the truth to you because you are persistent in finding the truth. He
and he's done everything right in this situation other than when he started by lying. But once he owned it and he was like, you know what? Yes, I was on in December. I'm really, really sorry. He's apologized immense amount of times. I know he's sorry.
I mean, you broke up with him.
That's what he says too. I don't know but why run right to an app? Like, are you serious?
I'm not saying you don't have a right to be upset. I want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
You have the right to be upset, but you were broken up. And so people handle breakups all sorts of different ways. And his story of, how old are you guys again? You're 29.
I'm 29, and I'm turning 29 this weekend. He's going to be 30 this year.
Okay. Not that young, but I mean, you're young, but nevertheless, his story about like, you're not with him. You break up with him remotely, long distance wise. He's with his army buddies. And the version of like, fuck her, this sucks, son's unhealthy, get back out there. Very believable story. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a reaction to, being upset. Did he handle it right? Not really. Do you have a right to be upset? Absolutely. But it's an understandable emotional response, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The how could you question that you ask yourself when he does shit like that, to me as an outsider, like I can understand how. I can understand why it hurts you too. It could have been just a reactive decision. Like, that's believable. You know, he gets out there. Obviously, you guys were having issues. It didn't sound like your relationship was on the best trajectory at this time. That being said, the whole bikini picture a couple months ago, huge red flag, which kind of makes everything else questionable because that's kind of a weird, shady thing. Doesn't totally add up. His location thing that you doesn't totally add up. To me, that suggests that maybe his story is believable. Has he been home since? You haven't seen him since?
I haven't seen him since Christmas.
You haven't seen him since Christmas. And when did you find out about this?
Last week.
So his story is believable, but it also suggests that when he was home, he went on the app and his location updated, is my guess.
Yeah, that's what I've asked him. And all I can really go off of is his word. He says he wasn't. He says he doesn't know why it was showing up in my hometown.
Is there a chance that it updates without him going into the app, like apps?
I think
if you don't close.
Like, unless like it has something to do with his location settings on his phone.
If his GPS,
from what I've searched on Google.
Yeah, if his GPS locations are, if in every app will give you that option, do you want to blah blah, share your GPS with this app? So I guess it could update automatically.
Well, and but then I still was just like, why was it still on your phone? And then I found out it was still on his phone because then she messaged me 2 days after I had this whole talk with him last week. And she said, hey, just by the way, the profile's still up. It came up again for me today. So I was like, are you still on this app?
He would have to be off for 30 days for it to not show up.
Yeah, exactly. But then it would have been like December 16th kind of thing. Would have been like,
I mean, I don't know
days.
about every single app. I do know that some apps do make it difficult for you to remove yourself quickly. And that even though you delete the app and shut down your profile, I do know that it's possible for you to show up on some apps. I don't know about this particular app that,
I guess like my biggest question for you is like, I'm believing him. I'm believing him. I'm not like, we're breaking up, this is it. My biggest question is that I'm just like, I'm holding on to a lot of anger with him right now. I'm having a really hard time forgiving him. And I just don't know how I move on from this because
which part?
I think
which hurts you the most?
The biggest part is bikini, not telling me.
The saved bikini? I don't know. To me, if you believe his story, if you believe that you broke up with him and he got on the apps pretty quickly, to me, that would be easier to understand and forgive than the bikini picture.
Yeah, I mean, that picture, like...
I think you feel embarrassed because you had to hear from someone else and you don't even know who that is.
100%.
And it's embarrassing. You feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, and just like that he wouldn't like tell me, like I was like, I feel like the best way you would have handled this.
Why would he tell you? You broke up with him. He gets on the apps. You couple days later or a week later, you guys have a conversation. I don't know who initiated it. Sounds like probably you. You guys worked through some issues. You took him back because you were the one who initiated the breakup, so to speak. And, time had passed. Feelings have cooled. I mean, not emotions have cooled, rather. And you take him back. Yeah, I mean, the most noble thing to do would for him to have been like, I just got to be honest with you. I was upset. I got on the apps. I'm sorry. Yeah, that would have been definitely the right thing to do. And you have the right to be upset. But I'm not trying to make excuses for him lying, but he wouldn't be the first person who was just like, you know what? I didn't technically do anything wrong. We were broken up. And it's just going to create, like, we just mended fences. So I don't want to throw a grenade on this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what he did is okay. I want to be clear.
No, I know.
But, how could you do that? You're a monster. I bet you're capable of doing this, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think
definitely.
These types of little white lies and, our ability to convince ourselves that we're actually not being dishonest and that it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've all done shit like this. It's not okay. And you have the right to be upset, but this is not one of those, like, I can't understand, I can't believe how he did that. Now, this is all assuming you believe his story. And his story is somewhat believable, and you're just going to have to trust your gut. My biggest advice to you is you obviously still want to work it out with this guy, right? You still have feeling, it sounds like. So I think you guys need to have, when you're in person, and just an honest conversation about where things are at, a hard reset. You got to say, listen, I know we've been arguing a lot recently, the past few months, you know, and maybe I didn't handle my emotions in December when I broke up with you the best. I felt, well, however you felt, you can describe those feelings. But you guys just have to get on the same page, you know? You're just like, do we want to, where are we? You know, I love you. Do you love me? Do you want to do this? You know, you hear me say all the time, you know, it's just like at the end of the day, relationships are about waking up every day and choosing if you still want to be with each other and still want to put in the work to keep this connection strong. When you first met, you know, I don't know how it was, but my guess is when you met, you both were attracted to each other. There was some natural chemistry. There was some excitement, and that chemistry and excitement of you two meeting and having some sex and whatever, that got you through for the first several months, right? Then he goes off. You guys are long distance. He's in the military. You have a life. You have your things going on, and it's easier to disconnect. You know, the momentum of the excitement and the chemistry slows down. You call it whatever you want, the honeymoon phase. And you got to put in the work. Now, it's harder, and you have to put in more work when it's long distance because it's just easier because of the given the space to disconnect. And you have to reconnect via FaceTime and on the phone, and that can just feel redundant and boring and whatever. It takes effort. So you guys have to sit down and say, do we want to do this? Do we want to be together? You know, because this is where we're at. If we want to be together, we're going to have to put in the work, you know, like, and we've made some mistakes and this hurt my feelings. It really upset me when you did this. You know, there's a difference between I don't want to be that girl and just being so chill that you don't care what he does on the internet, you know, like you're allowed to care what he does on the internet.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
that
and I
doesn't
really
mean
didn't before this. I really didn't care. I was like, if you want to look at that, go ahead and look at that.
There's a difference between like, hey, you know,
these people.
Yeah, there's a difference between like, hey, listen, we're not together. You know, if you watch porn, whatever, man. I don't care. There's a big difference between that and him screenshotting pictures of women on Instagram.
That's what I said. I was like, I don't. And he compared it to like me watching like Magic Mike. I was like, that is quite literally not the same thing.
Yeah,
no,
not the
like,
same. No,
it's a movie. It's an
really,
actor. It's like it's lighting and editing and nutritionists and all of that. I was like, that doesn't add up to
also,
me. That
these are
doesn't
like
make sense.
fictional characters and movie stars, and he is talking to some person that he has access to. He could just message them, whether they respond back or not. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and that was the point, was that it was like he has access to that person. I don't have access to.
Yeah, the big thing
Magic
is
Mike.
The big thing is, you know, you have to ask yourself, overall, do you still trust him, and do you still want to be in this relationship? And then when he comes home, you got to ask each other if this is something you guys do want to do. Hey, listen, let's just keep it real with each other. We've been together for a couple years now. This is our situation. I don't know how much longer he has in the military, how much longer you guys are going to be long distance or whatever. But you almost have to do like kind of like a mid-year review, you know, of your relationship with each other. Yeah.
Well, he has another like year and a half left.
Okay, so you have a year and a half left.
His plan is to get out after that year and a half.
Okay.
And
what is your and you're 29 years old and he's 30, and like, what is your plans as a couple?
I guess our plans is just like to keep going as we are for now. And
what is that?
When he does come home, at long distance. And like, that was the thing, is I listened to your podcast.
Are you okay with that plan?
I'm okay with that plan.
Okay.
I'm okay with that plan. I'm like a very like independent person. I like my alone time and all of that. So I'm okay with it.
What do you want for this from this relationship?
I want eventually to marry him and be with him forever. Like I from very early in this relationship told myself like, yeah, I think this is the one. I think this is my guy.
Okay.
And I felt my biggest things with him are, I feel he's really like a gentle giant, and that I felt really safe with him. That safety has now been a little bit skewed because of the photo, of downloading Bumble, because I feel like that trust has been definitely broken. I've never, like I said, been cheated on or anything. I've never really had my trust broken in this way before. And I do believe his story to an extent, but like you said, like the parts I'm questioning are the same parts you're saying are questionable, like the location and all of that. One part I should mention that I forgot to say before too was that when I did call him out on all of this, I picked up the phone. I was like, call me right now, because we had decided like, no more texting. If we're going through something, if something's going on, we need to pick up the phone and call and voice to voice talk. Like, texting is silly. So I called him, he ignored it or didn't answer it. And then I called him again and I kept calling and he was like, oh, sorry, like, I'm just trying not to die in this game right now. He's a gamer and I am like very hardcore against video games, which
Wow.
he knows.
He's
And
like,
then just that was another example of him not making me a priority in that moment, to not answer my phone call because he didn't want to die in his fake game rather than like talk to his
okay.
girlfriend in real life.
All right, well, we need to rewind for a few seconds. He's a
Okay.
gamer and you're against video games. That's a problem.
It's been our biggest problem. It's been our biggest problem.
Okay, well, what are you going to do about it?
So I
Because he has a right to play video games, you know.
1,000%.
Okay.
1,000%. My problem with video games is when he goes long periods of time with like just like not answering me, or he'll prioritize like the game and playing with his friends over like hanging with me. And that's where it's come into play. He's gotten a lot better, I will say, in our relationship. I think like it just took some time. I've just never been the person. I don't like video games.
Yeah,
I
you
think
don't like it, you
they're-
don't get it. That's fine. That's different between you being against them, you know. And listen, yeah, you're not the only girlfriend who hates the video games because their boyfriends are. But it's all about balance. It's about just, you know, him, like you said, like, hey, listen, man. For me, I don't play a lot of video games these days. You know, when I was in my 20s, it was an issue with my girlfriend. My decompression is Packers football and, you know, going on Twitter and reading news. And sometimes I get a little carried away with it. Sometimes Nally has to bug or even complain, you know. I do a pretty good job of listening, but you know, every guy, especially, and people, but like has their little thing where they just need to kind of mentally fucking check out, you know, and he just needs
100%.
he needs to have some balance with it. Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm
so,
like on that, like where he like should have this like decompression. Like that's how he says it. He's like, it just is my way of like decompressing. And I totally like am fine with that. I think it's just when it comes into choosing that over like answering my phone call was like not okay. Like
I like 100% of the time.
no, but in this situation.
Oh, we were arguing about the relationship, and he
Yeah, well, and that's what he said. He was like, I didn't want to answer the phone. I didn't want to get yelled at. I knew you were going to react this way.
You guys
And I
just
was like,
listen.
well,
You guys, here's the thing. We're not going to solve this on the phone, right? He's not here. You know, we're getting into like, hey, a mediation call, which, by the way, I would love to do if he's ever down. That being said, you love him. You want to make this work. There are things in your relationship that are not ideal, right? Let's just for argument's sake say that for the most part he told you the truth, that he had some moments of weakness. He was reactive. He took some bad advice from his friends, but at the end of the day, he didn't fuck anyone. He hasn't been messaging anyone. He didn't go on any dates. You know, you guys have had a relationship that quite honestly hasn't had a lot of good communication. Listening to you talk, my guess is, you know, if I were watching the tape on your relationship the past couple months, I could point out things that you said or did that I would have been like, I don't know, wasn't very productive or helpful, and vice versa with him. So that's just my guess. And you guys are at this point where you're really, you know, you broke up with him in December, you got back together, like you're not on the same page right now.
yeah.
And so, and it's been long distance, which is extra hard to reconnect when things you feel disconnected. So my advice is wait for him to come out. For now, for the time being, you got to stop with the whole like driving yourself crazy, Googling how these apps work.
Yeah.
Unless you want to just break up with him now and like think he's full of shit. You know, maybe something comes out where you realize he was lying to you. But for the time being, you're not doing yourself any good.
Yeah.
By being some sort of detective. You know, his story for the most part adds up. It like that you breaking up with him mid-December, you know, had you not done that, then we had a very different conversation, but you did. And, you know, it's not that crazy for a guy to be upset about it and his buddies like gas him up and he gets on the app. And, you know, if he had the app before, probably wasn't that hard to turn it back on. Pictures were already there, up to his bio, you know, and start swiping. That being said, when he gets here, like I said, you just have to sit him down and be like, listen, I know we've had our problems. First of all, I love you and I want to be with you. You're still the person that someday I know, like, I want to spend the rest of my life with. Like, do you still feel that way about me? That's the first part of that conversation. Assuming his answer is yes, then you need to say, well, I'm really glad to hear that. But like, we need to work on our connection. We need to work on our communication. I don't know how he's going to feel about, I'm glad that he prioritizes his mental health and he put it in his dating bio.
He doesn't, though. That's the funny part is.
Well, whatever. He fucking said it. He fucking said it. And you can be like, listen, if this means a lot to you, if I really am that person you want to be with, we need some help. And again, you're going to, couples therapy. I've said it before. I'll say it again. But like, and you guys could do that remotely. You can do that long distance. You can do couples therapy in different locations via Zoom with a therapist. But like, you guys just need some help reconnecting and figuring out how you guys can stay connected via long distance and set up some parameters. And you guys can talk about the video game playing. You can talk about what triggers him and what triggers you, what frustrates him, what frustrates you. And my guess is he does little things and then you will call him and expect him to answer. And it's just like, I can call you 10 minutes later. You go, why didn't you answer for me? It's me. And like, he's playing video games and you get more mad because he's going to do it. And you're like, you're testing him and shit like that. And all that bullshit that people do in relationships, you guys just have to, stop. But more importantly, figure out what it is that is triggering you guys, get on the same page, hear each other out where you have a mediator, let the other person finish. Maybe at times when he's speaking and you're already stopped listening because he said something about video games and it triggered you. And then, and then that person can say, wait, let them finish, hear him out. Did you, like literally that's what a couples therapist does half the time is just play referee.
Yeah.
Especially during disagreements, and if you guys really want to make this work, it sounds like you're going to need some help. And that's okay because most relationships do. Because long distance relationships are hard and they're extra hard when one of those people is in the military and their time is very much controlled by the fact that like they're in the military and there's an added pressure. There's a strain on your mental health in the military. You really, you must. I don't know what it's like to be in the military, but I can only assume you need to be able to decompress and it's a little different than like being an accountant. I
do like the idea, like your idea of like a hard reset and just like resetting our expectations and where we're at. And like I said too, he has done everything right in this circumstance. He went on. So what he did last week too is he went on the app again when I told him to. He deleted the profile, not just the app, and he said like, I see it one of two ways: either I do this and I just like figure it out, or I lose you, and I don't want to lose you. So I know he doesn't want to lose me.
So why don't you send him a message today even and say, hey, listen, I know we've been through a lot the past couple months, but I just want you to know how much I love you, how much our relationship means to me, and how excited I am to see you this weekend. I do think we have a lot to discuss because that all being said, we've had a lot of issues. I know you've been frustrated with things. Obviously, I've been frustrated with things, and I just want to use this time not only to celebrate my birthday, but maybe like get back on the same page and figure out ways to help us be a healthier couple in the future. And maybe set that expectation via text. But it starts with how much you care about him, how much you want to be with him, and what you want to do this weekend. And then this weekend, when he gets there, to say, hey, can we talk? And maybe it's after you hook up and have some great sex and you're lying in bed naked and you're just like, hey, can we talk about us for a second? I don't want to risk losing us. And I do think we need some help. And like, and if he says, well, I don't want, we can do this on our own and blah, 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 be like, hey, motherfucker, you don't get to go on a fucking dating app and say you prioritize your mental health and then turn me down for couples therapy after you just told me you want to make this work and I'm the person you spend the rest of your life. We have to be honest with ourselves and our relationship. I broke up with you in December. You went on the fucking dating app. You screenshotted pictures. We've both fucked up and like, we're really risking us not working out, and do you really want to lose this? Because like, I don't think we can do it on our own. And, unless you're a relationship expert in the military playing video games, maybe we just need some fucking help.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a good idea. Yes, I hear you. And I think it's a really good idea. I should say it. I'm having a hard time. Even like, we're usually like very like, honey, this, baby, that, like we're very like pet namey lovey like that. And I just in the last week. Haven't even been able to say that to him because I just feel like I'm so angry with him.
Well, yeah,
And
you're upset,
so-
and that's okay, you know. But like nothing, I just to suggest you to say takes away from the fact that you're still allowed to be upset, and you can even acknowledge
Yeah.
that. Like, I'm still processing this. Obviously, I'm still upset. That all being said, I do know that I love you, and I do know that you're the person I want, you know, to make this work with.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm sure, and you got to acknowledge when you say this that he has the right to be upset with things too. He has the right to be frustrated with things too. So acknowledge both of those and just say how you want to use this time when he's in town to come back together and figure out how you guys could reset the relationship, talk about different ways that you guys could change your behaviors, get some help when it comes to your relationship, and go forward and see if he's willing to actually put his, you know, money where his mouth is, so to speak.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm hesitant that he'll say yes to like couples therapy. I'm in therapy, and I've tried to tell him
you
I
need to
think he needs
persist.
therapy.
Well, start with couples
And-
therapy, maybe, because like
Yeah.
couples therapy, you know, he might need his own individual therapy. That might be true, but couples therapy is separate in my opinion. You know, it's just like, again, that's just about someone helping you guys figure out how to communicate more effectively, which you guys aren't doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's playing that referee during high intense triggering moments. And through couples therapy, he might discover the benefits of therapy and might get into individual therapy, but you can still do couples therapy even though he's not in individual therapy. And he might be resistant to it, but you need to be persistent. Don't give up with a simple no, and remind him, hey, again, why should either of us think that we can do this on our own? This shit's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's okay to acknowledge
so
that
hard.
relationships are hard, and long distance ones are even harder, and ones that include someone in the military are even harder. So, and two people who love each other, who want to make it work, can have a hard time connecting in a way that make both people happy, and they can break up because they were too stubborn to not put in the work, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of effort, you know? And you could say, listen, if you want it like a video game, like, you know, I'm sure he's gotten help from video games. I'm sure he's asked a buddy or two for a tip or trick or whatever. What's the difference between like relationships?
That's true. Wonder if I put it that way, if he'll be more inclined.
Maybe, I don't know, but like you have to be persistent, and at the end of the day, you have to say, listen, I need us to do this, and if you really want to be with me, and if you really are serious about making our relationship healthy and get to where we both want to go, then you'll do this for me and for us, and it's so, you know, and even if you go in a little resistant, I need you to do this for us.
Yeah. Okay.
If he refuses, then you might need to reevaluate your relationship, you know, because right now you guys are having a hell of a time getting on the same page. And I don't see that changing anytime soon without some help.
No, and I agree. We're really, really different people. So like, and not that that's a bad thing, but I think that is a good point that we might need some help just because we are so different. We communicate very differently and we think very differently and all of that.
It's, that's what it's going to take. Otherwise, you're just wasting each other's time.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
All right.
I'm definitely going to talk to him. I hope it goes well this weekend with my birthday and everything. But
well, I would, if I were you, I would send the message before he comes. Take the bad vibes. Try to reduce the bad vibes, you know?
Yeah.
And that way, when you have the conversations, maybe it's less intense.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's very fair. Okay. Well, thanks, Nick. I appreciate the advice.
All right. Well, keep us posted. I'd love to know what ends up happening.
I will for sure.
And if he ever wants to
sure.
jump on a Zoom together, you could do that long distance. We can.
I wonder if he would. I don't know.
Well,
I always tell him about your podcast, and he's like, oh, like, is that you talking about that podcast again? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, we have to use we language and stay connected and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's true. You do.
Because it works.
Yeah. It's not that complicated. It's not rocket science. It's hard work.
Yeah.
You know?
It is.
It's tedious at times. Doesn't have to be, but it can be for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, keep us posted.
So much.
Would love to know what happens.
I will for sure. I'll send you an update.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Zoa! You've got to check out Zoa, Dwayne, the Rock like Johnson's energy drink. ZOA just launched a brand new campaign, and it's all about the BDE. You know what I'm talking about, Big Dwayne energy. They've got a really awesome new commercial that you can check out at ZOA's Instagram or YouTube channels. ZOA Energy is a better-for-you energy drink with great taste, electrolytes, B and C vitamins, and zero sugar. It's made with caffeine from natural sources to provide balanced energy with no crash. When you drink ZOA energy drinks, it gives you the Big Dwayne energy, which gives you the sweat, confidence, and energy that helps you conquer your day. Here at the Viall Files, my team has loved ZOA Energy to give them an extra boost to get through their days. With ingredients that enhance energy levels, ZOA Energy helps my team find the spark and motivation. They've got 8 incredible flavors like Tropical Punch, Wild Orange, White Peach, and now Frosted Grape. And Frosted Grape just happens to be my team's favorite, along with their delicious Cherry Limeade. So get some Big Dwayne energy and order ZOA Energy today. Available online and at stores near you. Find out where you can find it at zoaenergy.com and find retailers like Amazon, 7-Eleven, Costco, Circle K, and more. That's ZOA Energy, ZOA Energy.com. How's it going?
Good, Nick. My name is Tracy. I am 25. My boyfriend and I don't have sex, and it is all my fault.
Why is it your fault?
So, me and my boyfriend started dating around a year and 3 months ago. It was kind of a rocky start to our sex life. I would say mainly because he wasn't able to perform the first 5 times. And then after that, we were fine.
Performance anxiety?
It was definitely performance anxiety, but we got through it.
Thought you were so beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so that went well after that, but this is kind of like more of a medical issue type of thing. I got 5 UTIs within 5 months. So,
okay.
I was going to doctors constantly, so we kind of had a break there with sex. Finally got it figured out. And ever since, I am like, I guess, fearful of that. And also, I'm just like not horny anymore. So
okay.
I just don't know what the hell's going on.
I mean, I don't know either. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
So basically, just to rewind, you guys met, he had some little performance anxiety, whatever. You started having sex and you started getting some UTIs every time you guys would have sex, which
literally every time.
Yeah, that I've had that happen. Not to me per se, but I remember, in my 20s, like you'd start hooking up with someone. It's like almost like your bodies have to get used to each other or something. I don't know.
It's a weird thing, but like that. So that's been figured out. I haven't had one in like probably 9 months. So basically,
and you've had sex in between.
Yes.
Okay.
I basically just take a pill after sex. Everything's good. No more UTIs. I haven't had one. And I guess like I kind of have a routine for after sex. So it's like I take the pill, go to the bathroom, obviously shower. So it's like a whole routine. And I guess that might be affecting it. But also like I'm just so attracted to my boyfriend. And whenever he's like initiating sex, I'm like pushing him away. And I hate that I do that. And I don't know like what the reason is, because like I said, I'm so extremely attracted to this man. So
maybe it's just like the tediousness of sex. I don't know. Are you guys doing any foreplay? When you say you're attracted to him, are there moments where you're like feeling like sex, or you just haven't been horny since lately?
Yeah, I mean, like I definitely have been horny. I have my moments and I will initiate sometimes, but it's probably like once every 2 months.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's brief. Yeah.
There's that. I will say, and I have talked to him about this a little bit, there is like really no foreplay. It's like
none.
Yeah. I mean,
well, I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. But yeah, I can only imagine from what I've heard, from what it's like to be a woman, and from what I've heard about how women's bodies operate when it comes to like sex. I can't imagine the idea of like being a woman, being in a relationship with a man, and just get fucking like railroaded for 5 minutes without any type of warm up, only for me to have to take a pill, have to do some whole routine just so I don't get some sort of fucking infection. I mean, when you put it like that, it's like, I don't know. I'm good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So it's like, am I allowed to get a little bit graphic here?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, cool. So like, for example, it was literally like 2 days ago, I like jokingly bent over and he tried to put it in me. And I'm like, I am dry as the winter breeze. Like, we cannot do this right now.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And what did he say?
and he was like laughing, and then he's, trying to make it, lube it up with some saliva. And I'm just like, but I am not even like turned on right now. Like, this is like.
So why don't you try to do some romantic shit with each other?
So I guess like in the past we've done some stuff, but it's like I don't have any motivation to even do that. And like I don't even know how to kind of bring it up to him to, ask him like, hey, like, I mean, like I've listened to your podcast for a while, and I know you've kind of like said things in the past where it's like, oh, like throughout the day, doing stuff that's going to turn the woman on later. And I'm like, what do I tell him to do that's going to help, I guess, is my advice. And
well,
like,
have you talked to him at all about this topic? Like, what conversations have you had with him, if any?
So, yes, I've like sat down and cried to him because I felt like it's my fault. And I'm just like, hey, listen, like, I'm so sorry. I'm just not in the mood, because I feel bad. Like, he has needs just like I have needs. So like,
does your boyfriend have an Instagram? I won't share it.
He does.
I just want to see want to see what this hot non-foreplay guy looks like.
He's got that curly head of hair. He's a beautiful looking guy. No complaints there. I just like don't want to feel like I'm training someone for foreplay.
Why not?
And if I am, well, it's like,
yeah, I don't understand that. What do you mean?
I don't want to be telling him what to do, because then I feel like that's not going to turn me on. It's like I tell him, this would turn me on, but I want him to already know that. Because like I've been dating him for like a year and 3 months, and like initially I will say our sex was not bad. We had great sex until the issues arose. And then after the issues were gone, I forgot to mention I was on medication for migraines that did kind of hinder my sex drive, but I've been off those medications for like 6 months now. So it's like my sex drive still not being there. I don't know if I want to completely contribute it to no foreplay, because like the man's great. And I know I hear that all the time on this podcast, like the man's great, but like he really does everything for me. Like I come home to a clean house. He works from home, so he's always cleaning the house. He takes care of our cat, who's like the love of my life. So like he's great in all aspects. So I'm just like, what the hell is going on my end where I'm just like not wanting to have sex with him?
Listen, I just think you're not on the same page. And I think it's what I'm hearing is you're a little stubborn in terms of, the whole classic, like, you should know, I want you to understand where I'm coming from. I want you to anticipate my feelings. I want, which
yeah.
I get it, and on some level, yeah, you want them to know, but how long you guys been dating?
A year and 3 months.
How old are you guys again? How old are you? How old is he?
I am 25. He is 24.
Okay. So yeah, he's on the younger side.
Yeah. So like we moved in together at about, I would say 10 months of dating, which in my mind is like pretty quick. Cause I've, in the past wanted to take things slower, but we moved in within 10 months of dating. We hang out, like even before we moved in together, we probably hung out every single day, to the point where like my roommate would get very annoyed. So like we never really had any breaks from each other unless he would like go on vacation for like maybe a couple days. But besides that, like we have been together every day since we met. We're basically attached to the hip.
Okay. So listen, he's 24 years old. I think that's the biggest thing. So not a big shocker that he's not Mr. Foreplay. It's disappointing. I don't know why guys these days are not learning stuff like this or whatever. You just got to coach him up a little bit.
Yeah, I guess. What I don't even know what to tell him.
Okay, fair enough. I would just like say, want you to sit down. Do you acknowledge it, babe? I know I haven't I know our sex life is not where either of us want it to be.
Right.
And I think you say that, us, it's not like, hey, our sex like sucks, you suck, I suck, whatever. It's just like our sex life isn't where we want it to be. I think you're sexy as hell. When we do have sex, I love connecting with you, but like I've been struggling with my sex drive, but I want to try to get on the same page with you.
Right.
And I want us to work on this together, make it a we thing. It's hard for me to just want to have sex when I'm not, warmed up or whatever. Like you're not some sort of alien here. You're a woman. Again, what I've learned about women is that they don't just, you don't get to bend them over and they are immediately horny, like you have to seduce and caress, and the mood matters. And yeah, like every once in a while, yeah, maybe you can be in the mood and you might instigate it, but for the most part, even then you need some foreplay.
Right.
So you could say, hey, babe, I'd love us to I don't know if you've heard me say make love without having sex, but maybe you say, hey, babe, I want to try something out. And I want you to take but I want us to work on our foreplay.
Yeah.
And again, us. And so maybe you buy some lingerie. I don't know. You don't really need lingerie. Honestly, underwear will do. You light some candles. I don't know. You both take a bath. You get naked. I don't fucking know. And then you and I know maybe this is going to feel awkward or weird, but this is what people do,
Yeah.
and then you caress each other. Maybe you do some, rounding some bases, but no sex. And you get excited without penetration. Specifically, he needs to get you off without you having sex.
Yeah.
And make it a challenge. If he's like a guy who loves a good challenge, I want you to try to do this, this turns me on. Tell him what turns you on. Communicate to him, this is what turns me on. And if he's a guy who cares about turning you on, he'll do it. And hey, I like the sex, but I need both, I need the sprinkles. I need the chocolate sauce. I need everything. I need the whipped cream. I can't just have the ice cream. I need it all, baby.
He's definitely good at things other than sex.
Great. So
very good.
So just say, I need more of that, and I want us to try doing that. And because to me, hearing you talk, there's nothing wrong with you. Again, not a doctor. I don't fucking know. But my guess is you might be more in the mood every once in a while when you guys are kissing and making out, and then there's some touching. Maybe you guys, again, take a nice bath together. I don't fucking know. But there are things you can do to hopefully enjoy the sexual experience, because it has to be more about a sexual experience rather than just having sex.
Definitely. I agree with that. I agree with the more foreplay and everything. My only issue is I feel like in the past he has tried. Just recently, probably a week ago, we were laying on the couch and we started making out. And then I don't know why, I just pushed away from him. And it turned me on, but I'm just no. And I'm why the hell do I keep doing this? Like I said, I'm very attracted to him. I love him so much. There's nothing, I would never want to leave. This is the man I want to marry.
Okay. Well,
so why am I pushing him away when what I want?
I don't know. I'm not a therapist, but maybe, are you in therapy?
No, my health insurance starts on February 1st. So
okay. Well, yeah, listen, I don't know. You're in your head about something.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
My biggest advice to you is just stop psyching yourself out. You're allowed not to be horny at times.
But all the time is crazy because
maybe there's little things you
could
could do to increase your sex drive. Again, maybe you can talk to a medical professional about this.
Yeah.
But it's probably more psychological is my guess. Again, not being trained in anything medical.
I mean, in the past with my most previous ex, I had a way higher sex drive than him. So it was never an issue. It was more on his end. So I'm
these things can be cyclical, I think,
Yeah. It was just even that attracted him. So it's now that I'm really attracted to my current boyfriend, I'm why is it the opposite? This is so weird. So
I think you're just in your head, honestly. I think it's, you guys had a rough start to your sex life. The whole, UTI, I'm sure was annoying and frustrating for you. Now sex has become a bit of a process, especially when you're done. He's not Mr. Foreplay. So it's most of the time you have sex, you're just what's in it for me? Other than a potential infection. And I don't know, maybe you've gotten in your head about it. And it's okay to not be in the mood, but you just got to keep trying, and you'll figure it out. I think the big thing is to not try to psych yourself out and communicate. The good news is when I said, how much have you talked to your boyfriend about this? It didn't sound like all that much, And so maybe just talk. Maybe you're stressed out because you feel guilty that you're not having as much sex. I don't know. Maybe you're worried about what he's thinking. Just say, listen, I'm just all the things you're saying. I think you're so hot. You're so sexy. This is just, make sure that he's feeling secure and letting him know how you feel about him, and just talk about it more, Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It can be a little awkward. I get it. But like, if he is the man you want to marry, you guys have to start talking about this stuff. You have to get on the same page. It's okay for both you to say, I'm not in the mood right now. I'm tired, If he's not saying it yet, give it 6 or 7 years, But like, men often don't want to have sex too sometimes. I know, like, when they're in their early 20s, it never feels that way, but it can happen and it will happen. And he'll have the right to say that without you being deeply offended because you're so used to him being turned on. It's,
Right.
People are allowed in relationships to not be turned on. And then there are times where you realize that you haven't, sex can be used to just get off, and sex can be used as a way to connect, and and then from a connection standpoint, you guys just sometimes have to take the time and not get stressed out and just be like, instead of, maybe not push him away, just ask to, say like, in the future, if I'm not feeling it, is it okay if I, and the obvious answer is yes, but it just, is it okay to just say, hey, maybe like, can we try again later? Instead of you getting frustrated and him getting frustrated, you getting frustrated yourself and you huff and puff. He takes it personally. He huffs and puffs. You guys get stressed out, but it's too awkward to talk about, so you don't talk about it. You make assumptions. He makes assumptions. You just have to communicate. I strongly feel that way.
I will say this one thing that I actually just remembered about a week and a half ago. We were, fooling around, and we went to have sex, and like, we were having sex for a good 30 seconds, and he just stopped and like laid down, and I like was so confused, and I looked at him and I'm like, is something wrong? He's like, no, I'm just not in the mood. And I'm like, we haven't had sex in a month, and like, you've been wanting to have sex, and here we are finally going to have sex. And like you're saying, like, sometimes he's not going to be in the mood, but like, for him to do that after not having sex for like over a month and wanting to have sex, I was just like kind of taken back. I was like, what and he like, and I kept asking, like, we should communicate about this. Like, what's going on? He's like, no, I just like don't want to have sex right now. I guess I don't know what your take is on that. I guess I thought it was just like very strange that he wouldn't want to have sex.
Are you in your head about that? Like, do you think he's doing anything?
No. I mean, I don't want to be I have to work on my insecurities. But if he, out of everyone, I know he would be the last person to ever cheat. He's a really great guy, so I don't think that would ever happen. So it was just like weird, and like, for him not to give a reason, and like, we're very, like, he knows I'm on this podcast right now. We are very open with communicating. Like, I tell him, he tells me everything. So it was just strange for him not to, I guess, want to have sex. It was weird. So
it's probably not as weird as you think. My guess is you're in your head about your sex drive. You're used to him having sex. He doesn't want to have sex this one time. And you're like, again, like I kind of just mentioned this earlier. You are used to being the one who's not having sex, who doesn't want to have sex. And you are just used to him always being in the mood. And so one time he wasn't, I don't know. It was weird to you. And then you get in your head about it. You just have to talk about it to him. You guys just needed to be better about actually talking about intimacy and sex, because you're having sex, but a lot of couples don't talk about it. Would he be able, if he called here and I was like, and I was your therapist or whatever, or meeting, and I was like, how does you turn on your girlfriend? Like, what is she like in bed? Specifically, would he be able to answer? Does he know the nuances of what turn you on?
I feel like the only thing he would say is like, yeah, she likes being eat out. Like, that's like really
okay. And is that it? Like, I'm guessing there's kissing on the neck. I'm sure you like that. Sure. I'm sure you like receiving oral sex, but I'm saying if you could, whatever fantasies you have a fantasy with your boyfriend, and in this fantasy, you are fantasizing all the things you like done to you from a foreplay standpoint, from start to beginning, the caress, I don't know, maybe it's caressing hands, maybe it's kissing your neck, maybe it's nibbling on your ears, maybe it's caressing I don't fucking know. I'm guessing there's a lot of subtleties of things that make you feel good. Scratching the back, I don't know, but like, do you know what you like? Maybe is the question. And does he know what you like? You know?
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I feel like I know several things that I like. I feel like he would probably say what I just said and like maybe like receiving a massage or something like that. But like that's,
I really like it when you kiss my neck. I like it when you place your hands around my neck gently, not choke the shit out of me, but you know what I'm saying? Like whatever it is. And you guys need to get on the same page. You need to figure out what you like, you know, and you guys can experiment with each other and you can talk about experimenting with each other. Hey, like I like this. I like that. I'd like to try this. And I didn't really like that. You know, I liked this. If you're going to spend the rest of your life with this guy, you got to start getting fucking creative. You got to start opening up. You got to start learning about each other.
I know. And like, that's my one thought is like, you know, like it's usually the beginning of the relationship where you're having the most sex, everything's fresh and new. And I'm like, I never really got to have that with him. And so it's like, I feel like this is all delayed and like, it feels like shit. And I'm like, where do we go from here? But you're right. I need to communicate with him. Like, I think I'm definitely gonna like sit down with him. Cause usually like, I'll just like mention something and then it's not really, it's like, oh yeah, okay. And then it's never really discussed. So I think you're right. I need to like sit down with him, talk to him about this, like literally like maybe make a fucking list or something and like figure out what I like, figure out, you know, what he can do to help me. But it's just that I need to, you know, be motivated to want to have sex. So
yeah, it's just communication.
Yeah, definitely.
You haven't been together that long. You're both still pretty young. He's younger than you, so he's going to be even that much more inexperienced than you, especially as a guy, you know, chances are. And you might need to do a little bit more leading than you want, you know?
Yeah.
I know it's like great to meet a guy who has it all figured out, you know. You know, if you want a guy who has it all figured out, maybe date a little older. I'm not saying you should. It sounds like you have your guy, but you know, your guy is less experienced than a 30-year-old would be or a 35-year-old would be. And even though you could date a 35-year-old, they could be terrible and fucking bad. And just as, you know, they could be set in their ways and uninterested. At least your boyfriend, hopefully him being a relatively young man, can still be open to the idea that like he hasn't figured it all out and is open to learn and it prioritizes like I want to be a great lover to my girlfriend. I want to get her off. I want her to think I'm great in bed, and that doesn't just mean how I use my dick. And I want, you know, to feel like I can turn her on and I know how to push all her buttons. I know all the little things that she likes, and to do that, you have to share that with him, or he has to be willing to try. And right now, he's not that creative in bed. Fine, no big deal. But you might have to guide him, and vice versa. He should be communicating to you the things he likes, and you should be willing to try it as long as you know you're comfortable. And you guys go from there. But right now, my what I'm hearing is you guys just aren't communicating all that much, and you're not talking about things that are slightly awkward. And you guys are both just hoping the other person can figure it out and assume and not take it personally when they don't want to have sex. And no one's really talking about why. Hey, babe, I just don't want to. And you're like, oh, okay. And then I guess, and then you get frustrated and there's no other conversations.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess like I'm trying to think of how to approach this because like it's not like we've never communicated about it. Like I've definitely approached him in the past saying like, hey, like we definitely need to involve more foreplay or else it's gonna hurt. And so it's like I have communicated that with him, and I guess maybe I should be like more direct.
Yes.
But like I've communicated that with that like so many times. So I guess it's frustrating on my end. And like you're right, I'm a very stubborn person, so I got to be better about that and just like sit down with him and talk with him. But I guess my biggest question to you is like, let's say I communicate all of this with him, like everything in our relationship is great besides the sex. Like, what do I do from there? Like, sex is important, especially to me.
Well, listen, if he's refusing to do any of this stuff, then I don't know, that might be an issue. But like, let's give him a chance first, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean like actual communication. I don't mean like passive aggressive remarks, you know, and I don't mean like comments and huffing and puffing of frustrations. I mean like sitting down and just saying, babe, I want us to work on our sex life, and I want us to work on our foreplay, and I want us to learn about each other's like turn-ons, and I want us to be more connected in, you know, sexually, and I want us to put an effort into it. When I want us to have like nights of the week where we really like, maybe you light some candles, you play some music. You don't even have to have sex. Maybe you just look into each other's eyes and caress each other. You know, I don't know. I'm just saying, if this is the shit you care about, that's what it takes. You know, intentional connection, you know, taking a bath together, you know, and trying to create a more sexier mood.
Yeah, that's definitely something I need to talk to him about. Also, like, I feel like every time, even if we're just kissing, he thinks it's going to lead to sex.
Well,
which I feel like is
Yeah.
I mean, like, listen, I get it, but also I feel like that's also like a younger mindset. Like, it doesn't always have to lead to sex, but I feel like he feels that way.
Well, you know, I mean, I would just use it to your advantage. You can communicate to him, listen, I want to make out with you. Be happy that every time he makes out with you, he wants to have sex with you. That's like our worst problems to have. Now,
True.
he needs to be respectful and he needs to like accept a no and not make you feel bad about it, but use it to your advantage. Turn him on, you know, work him up, tease him a little bit. Great. You know, he needs to do, fuck around with each other in a playful way where you are teasing each other. You know, maybe he does it to you. Maybe he like, you know, caresses you, wakes you up in the morning, does some shit, be open about, then he stops, you get all turned on and he goes to work and says, I'll see you later, babe. I don't know, like, try things out, try to tease each other, try to, you know, but like these, like everything in a relationship, these things can take work.
Definitely. I agree. I will definitely sit down, talk with him about all this stuff. I appreciate
the advice. And just make it not, you know, it's not about him. You're not attacking him. You're not being like, you suck at, you know, like us, let's do this together. And if he's resistant to that, if he's like, this is stupid, I want to do this, then then there's a bigger problem there. And maybe you just might have to be like, hey, I love, you know, he's hot, he's attractive, but like, I don't know. I want a guy who gives a shit about this. I want a guy who's willing to participate, you know, in our sex life more than just being willing to have sex anytime he just wants to throw it in, so to speak, without actually having like intimacy. Because that's not intimacy. That's just a guy having sex. You guys need to work on your intimacy. Because right now your relationship lacks intimacy, even though sometimes it occasionally has sex.
Because it just starts feeling routine at that point, and it's like not even fun. So, but
as always, lead with love. Hey, babe, I love you. I think you're sexy. I want to, you know, I know that I have been a bit disconnected when it comes to sex, but it is a prioritize. I want us to have a better sex life, and I want us to have more intimacy, and I want us to work on that. And let's talk about it, and let's try things out, and let's not get frustrated at each other when something doesn't work out, and we're trying, you know, we're experimenting, and with experimenting comes successes and failures. But experiment with each other and give each other permission to experiment with each other, and give each other permission to like not be in the mood from time to time. It's not the end of the world.
All right.
Awesome. Well, keep us posted. We'd love to know how this goes, because I'm sure you guys aren't the only ones experiencing this. And even though it seems like such an obvious thing that couples should talk about, it's shocking how many couples don't.
Yeah. I'll give it a couple weeks, maybe a month, and right back to you and see.
All right.
Let you know how it goes.
Yeah. Just be patient, but you know, talk with them and see where it goes.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Keep us posted.
Yep.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yep, you too.
How's it going?
Hi, my name is Lauren. I am 26 years old, and I am wondering if physical attraction is necessary in a relationship or if I'm settling.
I mean, yes, it's necessary. I mean, do you find your boyfriend to be ugly?
Well, so I just recently matched with a guy on a dating app and liked how it was over the app. We've talked back and forth, but he's definitely not someone that I would typically go for.
In what way? Like how far off are we here? Or like, are you like, I only have dated brunette men who are 6'2" with certain shoulder sizes and he's not that? Or like how specific are your physical preferences and how far off is he?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I have a particular type per se. It's more of just like, I don't know, if I find him attractive. So nothing particular in that.
Have you met him in person yet?
Yes, I have. So he travels a lot for work. So we FaceTimed at first and then have talked over the phone. And then whenever he came in town, we went out for a date. Everything's been great. We have great connection. I just don't know that I necessarily find him as attractive as I would normally, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, is it important? Yes, it matters. You should be physically attracted to your partner. I think men are a little bit more rigid in their physical preferences. And in my experience, or from what I've noticed, that women seem to be a little bit more flexible with who they could be physically attracted to. And I think women can grow their physical attraction with men, because I think women can fall in love maybe in a little bit more ways than men. I've always heard that, there's an old saying, men fall in love with their eyes and women fall in love with their ears, in terms of how men communicate with them, how they make them feel, things like that. But overall, yes, it is important, for you to be physically attracted. You just have to ask yourself, what other aspects do you like about him? Are there other ways that you find him very attractive by how he acts and how he treats you, things like that. But I guess there's no crime in you exploring this guy, and seeing if you can get there.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've struggled with is I feel like on a connection basis, we match really well. And I just don't know if I've been single for too long and I'm just wanting that connection, or if this is something that could last in the long run. And I just eventually, I don't know, is that settling?
No. If you continue to date him, and every time you hang out with him, you learn a little bit more, you build a little bit more rapport, your emotional connection grows, and you fall for him, even though he's not your best physical preference. No, I don't think that's settling. I mean, by definition, we all have to make some sacrifices. No one's perfect. So no matter who we meet, we're going to learn about things, about people. You're going to learn things, his physical appearance won't be the last thing that you learn about him that makes you go, well, I wish that changed. A lot of things he can change his behavior. He can work on. How he looks is how he looks for the most part. You can give him a little glow up maybe, and, cut his hair, or, change his style. But for the most part, he is who he is, so settling, no. And while physical appearance is important, if you want to get married and be with someone forever, as we've all, we all get reminded, looks fade and, things like that. So no, I don't think you're settling if you meet a guy, love a lot of things about him, continue to hang out with him, continue to enjoy their company, build a connection, build an emotional connection, only, knowing that, he's not your Brad Pitt or whoever your celebrity crush is. No, I don't think you're settling. I think there are a lot of important aspects of a relationship that go beyond their physical appearance. And I think there's a lot of people who fall for their physical type and stay with their physical type. And I think more people are settling with the person they're physically attracted to than people who aren't, if that makes sense. Because think about it. We all know physical attraction is important, but we also all know that there's a lot more to a connection or relationship than physical attraction. But physical attraction is very easy to see, very easy to trust. It's in our face. We see it all the time. We can get excited about, someone we find physically attracted liking us, so I can build a lot of chemistry. But as we get to know these people, sometimes we can find that we have literally nothing in common, or they don't treat us the way we want to be treated, or, the list can go on. And yet people will stay in those relationships because they're so fucking hot, and they don't want to give up on being with someone they find so physically attracted to. And yet there's so many other things they brush under the rug and, ignore or look the other way and quote unquote settle because of their physical attraction to someone. No one ever considers that, but that is settling. Those people are all settling for being unhappy, for being mistreated, for not feeling like a priority, all because they find their partner so fucking hot. And their ego is just you do not want to throw this hottie away, because your ego will always feel good about, being the arm candy or having the arm candy by your side, where people are just wow, that person's with a hot person, or they look good together. Those are superficial things that don't really matter. So while, yes, physical attraction is important and you have the right to be physically attracted to your partner, and that's for you to decide, but settling, we A, all have to settle on some degree, and B, people who are physically attracted to their partners settle a lot more than people who aren't, in my opinion. So I wouldn't get in your head about settling. I would just get to know this guy and then check in with yourself every time you get to know him. And you might realize quickly, it's like this guy, way more friend zone vibes. This guy doesn't do it for me. I'm not you should be, I'm stressing compatibility all the time over chemistry, but chemistry does matter. I'm just telling people to also consider compatibility.
So, well, and I know you talk about like your ego a lot. And I know that's like a big thing in relationships or in scenarios in general. But how do I get past that? Or how do I like know when it's my ego or just like, I don't know, make a decision based on that?
Well, I think you're just in your head a little too much, for one. How many dates have you been out with this guy? With this guy?
In person?
Yeah. How many? Yeah.
5.
5. Okay. Have you hooked up?
No.
Haven't hooked up. And have you not hooked up because you haven't really been interested because of your lack of physical attraction, or it's just no matter how he looked or whatever, you probably wouldn't have had sex? Like, why haven't you had sex?
That's just not normal for me to
great.
hook up that early.
Okay, great. Great. Perfect answer. So it's still early. So like, I don't know, just keep hanging out with him. Check in with yourself. Do you want to see him again? Are you curious about him? Have you liked what you've learned so far about him?
Yeah, I have. And he travels a lot for work. So we've talked over FaceTime quite a bit. That's like our main, I would say, form of communication. And all of that is great. It's just a matter of if I can see myself with him physically.
Okay. Well, you don't need an answer right now.
That's fair.
And listen, you're doing all this mental gymnastics trying to figure out whether you should keep hanging out with him. You have no idea how he feels about you. And how he feels about you today might change in a week. All of a sudden you get a phone call from him, or not get a phone call from him. Nowadays people ghost and shit. And all of a sudden his behavior changes. The fact that you are questioning how you feel about him makes you feel more powerful between the two of you. You are not right now worried about how he feels about you because you're questioning how you feel about him. And if that were to change, if all of a sudden you became aware that he was also questioning how he felt about you, that's where your ego could come in. If all of a sudden you caught wind, I don't know how you could catch wind, but you caught wind that he was questioning how he felt about you. Maybe it was physical appearance. Maybe it was just something else. I don't fucking know. Immediately, you would worry less about how you feel about him, and you would be fixated on proving to him that whatever he's worried about, he doesn't need to worry about. And that's where your ego comes in, especially if that's how you were to handle it. Your ego alters how you make decisions. It alters what you care about. It alters what you prioritize. And that's just something you should take into consideration, knowing that it's still early here and you're stressing yourself out a lot because you feel very much in control of this dynamic.
Yeah, I just with it being semi-long distance with him traveling a lot, I just don't really like the idea of wasting anyone's time.
Well, that's kind of dating. You have to. You don't get to date someone for 2 times. You don't get to go on 2 dates and know with certainty at all whether it's going to work out with them. Dating requires risks. It requires commitment. It requires time without guarantees that things are going to work out. And we have to be willing to do that. And you can be open with him about where you at. You don't have to be harsh about I'm not that physically attracted to you, but you could say, if he checks in and be like, I'm still really enjoying getting to know you, but I'm just not sure where I'm at right now. If he says, well, I know how I feel about you and I need an answer from you, then, you can decide whether you want to take that risk or not. But you just have to communicate, try to be on the same page as much as you can. You could date for 6 months and he could break up with you. And it might, on some level, feel like a waste of time, or vice versa. But that's just kind of how it works. All you can try to do is be open, upfront, and communicate as much as possible. But even that's not perfect. If you guys hang out for 6 months or any lengthy period of time and one of you ends it, the other person is going to be annoyed, hurt, feel let on, feel like they wasted each other's time. That's part of the gig,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you like them, if you're enjoying it, keep hanging out with them. Keep checking in with yourself about how you feel, but try not to overthink it. Do I like them a little bit more than I did the last time I hung out with them? Am I enjoying what I'm learning? And then over time, does that help with the attraction?
Do you feel like that's a possibility for me to grow into attraction?
I think it's possible. And I've heard women do it more. For me, no. I'm not someone who has ever become more physically attracted to someone. And I think that's more typical with men, but I can't speak for everybody. So
Fair.
if you were asking me, I would be like, I don't think my feelings would change all that much, but I know a lot of women who that's different. A lot of stories where it's just like they fell in love with the person more than their physical appearance. But you might be different. You might prioritize physical attraction a little bit more than other people. That's also okay. But, if you're going to be a little pickier, then you have to be a little bit more patient. You don't get to be picky without being patient. You can, you're just going to be very frustrated.
Yeah. Patience is tough.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I feel like maybe I just need that validation of like, I'm not in the wrong for not thinking he's my type.
Definitely not in the wrong. And dating does require people to take a chance on each other without any guarantees of anything working out. And that sometimes can feel like a waste of time, but that just comes with the territory.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you.
No problem. Let us know how this plays out. But try to get out of your head a little bit. It's funny. It's contrary to what I always say. It's like, how do you feel about them? I'm always telling people to check in with themselves. Well, get out of your head,
Okay.
You don't have to overanalyze everything. But if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it.
Okay.
Something is keeping you wanting to get to know him. But it shouldn't be guilt. And it shouldn't be like, well, I just want to make sure I'm not superficial. So I'm just going to date him because I can be the type of person who doesn't have to, You also don't get a good person prize for dating someone you're not attracted to. So there's really no wrong answer. So stop judging yourself. Stop thinking, what am I supposed to do? And just go with your instincts.
Okay. That was what I needed. Thank you.
All right. Well, let us know what you decide.
I will.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. We'll see you back tomorrow. We got Jess from Love is Blind. We'll get into we'll talk about all the stuff, all the good stuff. And on Thursday, Candy Burris is with us for Going Deeper. See you then. Bye. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.